Umpire Mag feed, and I can't wait to go across the pond to listen to Across the Pod, fresh out of Wales. Special stuff. Cheers.
Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, in Team Season Preview 23 out of 32, I was joined by New Orleans Saints fan Daniel Harper as we look ahead to the team's upcoming season. Daniel discusses quarterback Tyler Shough going into his second year.
I haven't seen him put a step wrong since he joined the city. Turned up, went to all the right establishments.
I asked Daniel about the addition of Travis Etienne. It feels like the perfect sort of transition from Kamara onto the next running back because... And much more as Daniel gives his end of season record prediction in our win, loss or tie segment, and also recaps his time in New Orleans when the no call against the Rams happened in the NFC Championship. Hope you all enjoy.
The atmosphere, Andy, was enough. I've never experienced anything like it at a sporting event. It was deafening.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, and we are on Team Season Preview 24 out of 32. We're near the end, guys. We are near the end of our annual season preview bonanza. And today's episode, as you can see from the title, is all about the New Orleans Saints. Now, with me, I have got a returning guest back on the show. Is the Saints City and Me's Daniel. Daniel, it is great to have you back on.
Hi, Andy. Yeah, thanks for having me back on. It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. Making your second appearance on the show. You made one back last season and... also, you made a good enough impression to be brought back in.
Yeah, that doesn't happen often, but I'll take it.
And you were in New Orleans, right? You were in America recently. I'm pretty sure it was in New Orleans. Is that right?
So I was in New Orleans in March. I was there for a friend of mine's wedding. But I've just come back. I did a road trip. I drove from Seattle to Las Vegas through Yellowstone and those, Montana, Idaho, Utah. So drove 2,500 miles. I felt every mile of it on my accelerator foot. But yeah, it was great. Really, really good. Really, really good. Thanks.
And I can imagine the weather there was pretty good in the summer.
Yeah, weather was lovely. Got to Vegas, 45 degrees. On a last day, I popped into a Target just to get some sweets and treats to bring home. Got back in the car and the thermometer on the car said 117 degrees. So I was like, yeah, get me on that plane because the wind burnt my eyes. It was that hot, but it was great. It was really good. Really good.
That's for me. Someone who doesn't like the heat that much. For me, that is quite something. But we'll move on to the ins and outs of this off-season for the Saints. The main ins include the likes of former Jag Travis Etienne, the likes of Noah Fant, Ty Chandler, Zach Wilson, Anthony Jennings, Martin Emerson, and also you traded for the likes of Tyree Wilson, who you gave away a 5th round pick from this year's draft to go and get. And you also traded away Kai Kroger to the Texans in exchange for a 2028 6th round selection. You also re-signed the likes of Cam Jordan, Terrell Burgess, Dylan Radens. I always find that name really hard to pronounce, as well as
Radens.
Radens. Thank you.
Radens, yeah.
That's a lifesaver right there, I tell you that. Also, John Ridgway and Chris Rumpf, all of those via free agency. And then the players you lost in free agency include the likes of Jonathan Bullard to the Cowboys, Demario Davis, who is now a New York Jet, Luke Fortner, who is now a Panther, a guy we talked about in some depth in our Panthers season preview recently. Also lost the likes of Foster Moreau, Dante Pettis, Mason Pline, as well as Jonah Williams, Landon Young, Jack Stoll, and Alontae Taylor. Finally, in the draft, you took in the 8th overall pick Jordan Titan, receiver from Arizona State, as well as Kristen Miller, defensive tackle from Georgia, 41st overall, as well as the likes of Oscar Delp, Jeremiah Wright, Bryce Lance, who I think is Trey Lance's brother.
He is.
Also, Lorenzo Styles Jr., Barrion Brown, and TJ Hall. And finally, you signed receiver Chris Olave to a bumper. I think it was $117 million 4-year deal. Daniel, for you, overall, What's your take been on your team's off season?
I think we've had a good off season, right? I think I said this to someone before who was talking about it. I said, there is as a fan, I think you can see the vision of what Kellen Moore is trying to build. Last year's draft felt very much like a foundational piece draft. It was putting in place pieces that were ready to, I think planning for the likes of DeMario to not maybe re-sign, bringing in Danny Stutzman and just getting these pieces in that sort of gave us a solid foundation to build on Kellen Moore's first roster, right? And getting his fingerprints all over that roster. And I think you can see it, like you see it with the draft. 8 players drafted, 5 of them offensive players, clearly an offensive coach, head coach, getting his fingerprints all over it. I think they've done well. I think I'm really pleased to have signed Olave to that contract, especially when you saw the contract that Zay Flowers got just a couple of days later. I think if they hadn't got that done as quick, well, it wasn't as quick as we probably would have liked, but if they'd waited a little bit longer on that, the price could have gone up even more. So I think it's a reasonable value. I think he's like the 9th best paid wide receiver in the league, depending on what metrics you look at, probably roughly where he sits as a 1. And I think Jordan Tyson, if he can stay healthy, if those injury niggles that he had in college don't come back, that's a really good 1-2 punch they've got there. And they've got some depth wide receiver as well. Obviously, they picked up last season, during the season, they traded for Devon Vele. There's a big body wide receiver there. They've clearly just identified where they needed to address in the team and gone out and done it. There's been at times in probably a hangover from the Sean Payton era is we never really. Sean left us with a pretty desolate wide receiver room, and it's taken us time to build that back up. And I think now we're in a position where we've built that back up. The news, the stories that are coming out of training camp about some of these later round picks that we've picked at wide receiver have been really positive. There's a guy, I've got a name for you here, Barryon Brown. We picked him up from LSU in the 6th round. He is lighting up training camp. Like everyone is talking about him, and he's basically Rashid Shaheed's replacement on special teams, but he's looking electric. And I think Staley's defense finished the season really strong last year, and I think they've just sprinkled a little bit across that. We've just today picked up Dion Jones, signed him on a free as a free agent, so it was a linebacker, so picking up more depth in that space. So, and then obviously Cam Jordan coming back to finish his career. He had a bit of a Indian summer last season, but let's hope that he can finish his career with the Saints and maybe get some more sacks and push up those records that he's pushing for in the overall sack chart within the league. So I think it's been a positive off season. You said about trade away Kai Kroger. We went out and signed Ryan Wright, punter. We've been poor since Thomas Morstead went in the punting department. Obviously it's really crucial to have a good punter to sort of get you that advantage on the field, and going out and picking up a good punter, I think is a positive thing as well. So all 3 parts of the roster have been addressed, I think, by the back of or the front office and the coaching staff.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you look at the addition of ETN, and it feels like the perfect sort of transition from Kamara onto the next running back, because I think it's kind of I think everyone knows now that Kamara's probably time as an elite running back is over. Long gone are the days where he was scoring 6 touchdowns on Christmas Day against the Vikings, and I think he saw a big decline, and I think it's only going to get further. And I think ETN, I think it's a huge loss to the Jags. I think losing him, I think is a massive issue. But I think getting someone like him in who can just basically come in almost like for not for like, but sort of replacing a good running back with the next good running back. And I think, if I'm honest, I think Kamara, I don't know how long is left of his deal, but I can see
he just signed not a new deal. They've restructured his deal, restructured his money. I think he's accepted he's at RB2 now, but I think that's going to work for him, right? Because they can use him a bit more in situational plays. They can use him in passing game a bit more. He never really was a bell cow back, and Dennis Allen tried to use him like that. Didn't work. You can't run him up the gut. His skill set is being elusive and being difficult to, slippery, and people can't get their arms around him when he breaks into space on the field. So I think having ETN, as he's come back, because he is from Louisiana. He's from a place called Jennings in Louisiana. His son is called Saint, so that tells you what his fandom was as a kid growing up. But when he came back, apparently, well, not apparently, he came back and said, "Well, actually, the league's been pronouncing my name wrong since I was at college." So it's in Louisiana, it's pronounced Chen, because they like to pronounce things a little bit different with the Cajun French and things like that. So yeah, he's I think he's going to be a key addition. And last season he was one of the strongest running backs in terms of yards after contact and things like that. So I think he had that one down year a couple of years ago, but I think it's a really, really strong addition to the running back room. And then we've got some peripheral pieces in there that we'll see what happens. We've got Kendre Miller and Devon Neal and people like that who they haven't really shown as much to suggest that they're going to break through and push for one of those two starting position or backup. But it's good to have those players in the squad who can step in. Estime came in at the back end of last season, did quite well for us, so maybe he's got a shot at being RB3, and we'll see where we go. Interestingly, we didn't pick up a running back in the draft or free agency, so other than HN. So it'll be interesting to see how that room stacks up. And Kellen Moore likes to be funky with his playbook, so that having those kind of running backs who can catch the ball and stuff, I think it's going to play right into what he wants to do in the season.
Yeah, I tell you what, trying to learn his new name pronunciation is going to take a while, I think, for many people to learn. I mean, I've gone so used to saying ETN.
Well, you abbreviate it, right? If you're messaging someone or tweeting, it's ETN. That you just use 3 letters, whereas now you cut. That's what I always used to do. So, yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to the season. I'm sure you are as well. But I'm really feeling quite positive after a few years in the doldrums. No playoff football since 2001. I think it's time that we and I think the division's there for the taking as well. So,
yeah, I mean, this division is wide open. I mean, you've got a team, the Panthers, who won the division, but I said it before, I kind of feel like they capitalized on a Buccaneers collapse, and I think everyone being back at the Buccaneers, I think they should be the favorites. But with all the uncertainty going on, all the unrest regarding Baker's comments regarding Vita Vea's trade request, the kind of noise around Todd Bowles, I think a lot of people are kind of feeling like maybe it's gone a bit stale in Tampa with Todd Bowles. And I think, you look at the Falcons, they've got some great weapons, but then their QB situation right now is their 2 quarterbacks are injured, and right now is Cooper Rush playing for the Falcons, and the Falcons has got a history of not getting it done. And I think I will say, I don't want to offend any Saints fans here, it probably is the worst division in the league in terms of quality of teams, which I think in a way makes it even more obtainable for you. I think you're not in an NFC West, you're in an NFC East, AFC North, you're in on paper a much easier division, which can make it tougher and easier in different aspects. But I think, if I'm honest, I can make a case for all 4 teams winning it, and I don't think there's a different division in this league that I can do it for. I don't think I can make a case for the Vikings or Packers in the NFC North. I don't think I can make one for the Commanders in the NFC East. Don't think I can make one certainly for the Cardinals in the NFC West.
Oh, did you see that trading video? It's definitely not.
Of Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, it was rough.
Oh, that one. Yeah, no, that I know the one was it yesterday it was released or 2 days ago?
A couple of days ago it was basically, it started off just poor play, and then it zeroed in on Harrison just dropping everything, and it was just like but then again, another team, what they're doing at quarterback, right? They haven't really got a franchise guy there, so
I mean their schedule as well is, I think, actually on paper it's the hardest, and it is just they got to play those teams in their division twice anyway. But I do think in most divisions there's a case to make for at least one of these teams to not make it. My team is one of those teams in the AFC West. We got 0 chance of winning that division. But I think the NFC South, it's so wide open because the teams are all quite even. I think you got a chance, and I think if you're going to have a chance, it's going to fall on Tyler Shough, who I think as the season went on in his rookie year, he got better and better. Obviously, started off the year, didn't start. It was Spencer Rattler. But he came in, and as the season went on, he just got better and better. And I think he was up for the Rookie of the Year award. And
won some money on that.
Did you?
I cashed out. It was him and the guy at the Panthers. I forgot his name. Tet.
Oh, McMillan.
And he was they were jockeying towards the end of the season, and then he threw the interception against the Falcons in the last game, and I cashed out, and I bet a 5 on him at like 500 to 1, and I got about 200 quid. So cash out, take that. Yeah, but to your point about the division, for the last 2 seasons, the division has had the weakest strength of schedule if you look at the teams that are in it. So I think it does play true because they play each other twice, so that obviously weakens that strength of schedule. So I wouldn't dispute that it is a poor division, and I think it's there for one of them to take and build on. So, and hopefully it's the Saints.
Yeah, I think you've definitely got a chance, and with Shough, I mean, how are you feeling about his sophomore year? I mean, we've seen it can go one or two ways. It can either be the sophomore slump that a lot of quarterbacks have. Most recently, Jaden Daniels, but then also we've seen quarterbacks in their second year go on and just elevate their game. Most recently, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. So with his second year coming in the league, he's now the certain starter. Last year, he was sort of battling out with Spencer Rattler. That's not even a debate anymore. Who's a starting quarterback in New Orleans? How are you feeling ahead of his first year as a starter for the entire year?
I'm a Shough believer. I was very positive about him when they drafted him. I think the whole Shough Rattler debate last year, I think it was inevitable that he would come in at some point. Like Rattler isn't Kellen Moore's guy. He's not taking anything away from Rattler. He came in and did a very good job, all things considered. You know, he was turning the ball over as much as we expected him to. He was, possession football. He was looking after the ball quite well. He has a tendency to take sacks. Ironically, he's performing really well at training camp this year. Like the writers are saying, there isn't a QB contest, but if there was, he's doing fantastic. So I wouldn't be surprised if they potentially do like a Teddy Bridgewater trade with him. But Shough, I'm really positive. I think, as we said at the top of the show, Jordan Tyson coming in, Chris Olave getting that contract. They're surrounded him with the weapons he needs. They brought in Oscar Delp, who's a good pass catching tight end. Probably didn't get the ball as much as he should have or could have at Georgia, but I think that's more to do with their play scheme more than him. So last year he started 9 games. I think he averaged 265, 270 yards a game. If you scale it up over the season, I'm expecting 4,500 yards out of him, because if he carries on the way he finish the season, that's the sort of the tier he's set himself now. As we said, bringing in Achan, strengthening the running back room, that means that they've got more in their run game, so they haven't got to rely on him to air it in situations where they don't really want him to air it, and they can just be a bit more conservative where they need to be and let him pump it downfield when he needs to. So I'm a big Shough guy. I'm all aboard, and the guy's PR is fantastic. Like, I haven't seen him put a step wrong since he joined the city. Turned up, went to all the right establishments, did all the right things. He was doing the Hannah Bananas or whatever it was in the Superdome, the baseball thing they have out there. He's just been everywhere doing all the right things. His PR team are fantastic, and he just seems like such a nice guy. And I think it's really easy to get behind a QB. And even if he does have a little slump, he's got a bit of favour there because fans like him, his personality, and the way he's endeared himself to the city. Drew Brees says it. Everyone says that you love New Orleans, it loves you back, and he's certainly put a lot of stock into making sure the city loves him for when those bad games come. But I don't think there'll be that many of them, if I'm honest.
You know what? You're absolutely bang on the money, because we talked about it in the Panthers season preview about Bryce Young. There was that clip that went around recently where his first day back in training camp with media, he was asking them all how they were. He was asking them about any major life events. A journalist said he got married. He said congratulations, and you see that, and you see really what we've seen the 2 years before that, and then, you can't help but like Bryce Young because he's such a nice person. And I think, you flip that around to, I'm not one of these people, but there's people out there who really dislike Aaron Rodgers for the stuff he said out loud. But I've always loved Rodgers as a player. I've always loved watching him play. But there are some people that find it hard to root for him because of maybe they don't agree with his opinions, or maybe they don't like him as a person, and for obvious reasons, the likes of Big Ben, Deshaun Watson, it's very hard to get liked in the league when you have these kind of off the field behaviours. But I think when it's someone like Bryce Young, like Tyler Shough, these quarterbacks who are, as people, very nice, it almost feels like they're getting back what they put in. They're being nice around the people they're working with, and I think that goes for the same for like teammates. Now, if you are a guy that everyone, obviously you've got to have a little bit of probably a side to you if you're a quarterback, especially to lead, to be a leader, to kind of give instructions when the going gets tough. But I think if you're nice to your guys around you, especially like your defensive line, the guys you're going to work with in your centre who snaps the ball to you, it makes all the difference in the world if your players get on with you. And there's a reason why there's some quarterbacks who play in the league till they're 39 as journeyman backups. And I think there's a reason why the likes of Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck are getting moved to Chelsea in their mid-30s is because they're great guys around the locker room or dressing room.
Yeah,
so
I think coaches are now they probably did before, but pay more attention to those kind of individuals who are a positive influence in the locker room. And I think it translates to soccer, football, and American football. I think that you want to have those characters around you. That's why people said Jordan Henderson went to the World Cup, because they felt that he would be a positive influence. Even if he didn't get the minutes on the field, he was going to bring something to the dressing room that players would like. And I think it's the same in the NFL. You want those players who are locker room guys that your O-line feel like they want to put their lives on the line for. And on that, we also signed Dave Edwards, guard, in the free agency, which is O-line's been a problem for us. So again, putting that weapons in around Shough and also fortifying that line for him, they're doing everything they can to make sure he's a success. So
yeah, and there's a reason why as well that Ryan Fitzpatrick was at so many teams. Obviously, there's probably more than one reason why he's at so many teams, but certainly if he was, because these teams, they do their due diligence. They'll research guys, they'll ask former teammates what's he like. This goes for many sports, but Fitzpatrick, I think the fact he was such a likable guy is why he had so many teams. And the same thing.
I loved him. He was great. He was one of those players that you rooted for even though he didn't play for your team. To a lesser extent, someone like Baker Mayfield, I know he can be polarising, but people who like Baker love Baker even if he doesn't play for their team. And it's similar sort of thing. The players around them like being around him. They like the trash talk or stuff like that. So it's you can tell I've been watching quarterback.
yeah, that is. I kind of wish I watched it after his comments he made. That would have made it a bit more interesting watching quarterback before after he'd made those comments and and all that's happened behind the scenes with that. Now my second question I wanted to ask you was about your defense, and this is a defense that did rank 4th in the league last year when it comes to their pass defense. But I'm looking at this depth chart for the Saints, and you got Kool-Aid McKinstry, but I'm looking at Quincy Riley, Martin Emerson Jr., Isaac Iadom, TJ Hall, Dallas Beanham. The depth of cornerback, I look at, I'm thinking, you think about, you're playing against maybe 3 weaker teams in your division, but then you've got to play the likes of the Vikings receivers, Addison and Jefferson. You've got the Lions, Amon Ross and Brown. Baltimore Ravens, you've got, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams throwing the ball to that cornerback room, and Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Bengals. Do you worry about this depth? Because I'm looking at, as unusual, you watch these players way more than I do. You might have more faith than I do in this Saints cornerback room and just secondary in general. But are you looking in that cornerback room thinking, this could be a problem going into the season?
I don't, when you list it out there, like there's no. When you go beyond, some people might say they're not even household names, but there is no. If you think 3 seasons ago we had Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, either side of it, and obviously we lost Alontae Taylor. Alontae's a bit of a boom or bust player, and if Tennessee fans will probably already know this from his time at Tennessee University, but he can make incredible plays, and then he can also give up a lot of yards on blown plays and stuff like that. I think. The thing with our 2 starting cornerbacks right now is they're probably more, I want to say like more thinking man's cornerback. So they try and put themselves in positions where they don't have to make those big plays. They haven't got to make the splash plays. They've already nullified the receiver before the snap's gone because they've thought about what's going to happen and a bit more intelligent in the way they play. I think Corday McKinstry, he got votes in the top cornerbacks in the league when the coaches put their votes in. So he's a player that I think probably hasn't had the explosive start to his career that we expected, in terms of how he was at Alabama. But he's a steady cornerback, and I think he's got room to grow. And I think he's he's as I said, he's more of a thinking cornerback than a relies on his athleticism to get him out of things. But also we played a star position as well a lot. So you've always got a DB in there alongside your two linebackers who's got the range and coverage as well. So I think the structure allows us to not be as reliant on having premium superstar cornerbacks because it's about the defense as a collective. I think DeMario is probably a bigger concern for me at linebacker, but then brought Caden Ellison, who's very experienced and one of the best pass rushing linebackers in the league, or has been. So I think it's more around the defense around those cornerbacks allows us to not necessarily have a Patrick Surtain or a JC Horn or someone like that in there who's top of everyone's wish list for cornerbacks. Yeah.
I mean, I think every team would love to have Surtain in their team. I mean, for me personally, he is the best cornerback in the league, and I think to have someone like him, I am jealous of every Broncos fan that gets to wear his jersey, because I would love to own a Patrick Surtain jersey. But, I can't quite put the courage to wear another team's jersey. I don't think I could quite do that myself. I think I've got Bayern Munich top, I've got a Valencia top, I've got like a Sweden national team jersey, but I couldn't wear an English Premier League team who wasn't Liverpool, and I couldn't wear even Scottish teams. But in NFL, I think because they're all in the same league, I just don't think I could ever. Like, I would love to own a Derrick Henry Titans jersey, my favorite player of all time. I would love to have a jersey of Derrick Henry. He also played in that game, which is for me the one I look back on as my least favorite game ever as a Dolphins fan, when he had that massive comeback in 2023. So yeah, I just couldn't quite have the courage. But yeah, if you're sitting here listening and you got a Pat Surtain Broncos jersey, I think he must look pretty cool when you walk down the street, especially in one of those throwback jerseys.
I reckon you could get away with it maybe if you're an NFC team and obviously AFC player. I have one jersey from a player who isn't the Saints. I've got a Darrelle Revis jersey that I bought a long, long time ago on a trip to New York because he was just my favourite non-Saints player, and I saw it and I was like, I'm gonna buy it and have it because I just thought he was one of the best cornerbacks ever to play the position. But I don't wear it. He's hanging up in a cupboard.
One thing I've realised I could do, and I've not ever found a legit version of this. College jerseys of these players.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Because I'm a Gators fan, but I don't have the same passion that I would be conscious about wearing a different team's jersey. I would love to own I've always had a soft spot for likes of the Texas Longhorns and Ohio State and people like that. So I think, things like a Derrick Henry Alabama jersey, or who else, like a Drew Brees Purdue jersey, or something like that, I would be, that's kind of what I'm thinking I might do one day. But I've looked online for ages. I just can't ever see a Derrick Henry jersey that isn't signed or looks legit. I've seen a few fakies hanging around, but I just, that's something I need to find out at some point, how I can get hold of that. But no, definitely one.
The other one I was going to say I do is when I go to the States, if I go to a place where a prominent Saints player has played, I might buy not a jersey. I'll get like the college T-shirt. So I recently, when I was in Utah, I bought a BYU like fan T-shirt, and I've got Tulane ones, I've got LSU ones, I've got LSU jerseys, obviously, but that's I've got a Fresno State one. I shouldn't really wear that with Derek Carr and the way he left, but I've got it's just a little way of paying little tribute to your favourite players, college teams, and for your team as well. So that's a way around it.
Absolutely. Well, let's head to our final segment, which is win, lose, or tie. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this segment of the show, each fan that comes on predicts their team's overall end-of-season record by going through each game and answering with the simple answer of win, lose or tie. Daniel, how are you feeling about this?
All right, I've gone through and I've got them, so I know what I'm going to say. So there shouldn't be any thinking on it. Some of them I was a bit flippy floppy on, and I've gone with the averages. You know, this is probably likely to happen, even though I think we could win. But yeah, I'm trying to be realistic and also positive at the same time, optimistic.
Well, week one, you start off actually. Your first 2 weeks are on the road, and you start off on week one on the road, Ford Field, the Detroit Lions. Daniel, win, lose or tie?
I'm going to go lose on that one. I'm going to give Detroit that one. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it's a tough place to go, and I think Dan Campbell will be looking to get him bouncing back after last season. So,
absolutely. Week two, we just mentioned this player quite a lot. Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens. You travel to M&T Bank Stadium.
I'm going to give them that one as well. So I'll take the L there. I think again, tough place to go. Derrick Henry, unstoppable on his day. Lamar Jackson, I'm assuming they're hoping gets back to his form that he's had previous years. So I'll give him that one before my run starts.
Well, week three, it is a home opener for the Saints as you host the Las Vegas Raiders.
Win. Saints win.
Fair play. Week four, it is the Atlanta Falcons at home.
Saints win. I'll never give the Falcons never ever give them a win ever.
Even if they traded for, let's say, the Patrick Mahomes, Amon Ross and Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry.
I just can't do it. Can't do it. I can't do it. No, always anyone but the Falcons.
So I want to ask you which team you dislike the most in your division. Then, if you're saying that.
Yeah, it's got to be the Falcons. It can't be anyone else. Although I've got a not irrational. I've got a dislike for the Panthers, but it's because I used to work for a company that headquarters were in Charlotte, and I went there twice, and I got a lot of stick from the Panthers fans when I was there. So it's like that roots them at number 2 in my tiering of dislike.
Fair enough. Well, week 5, you are hosting your 3rd game in a row, but this time it's against the Minnesota Vikings.
I wasn't sure about this one, and then I was thinking, I don't know, how Kyler's going to fit into that offense, so I'm going to give us the win there. Jefferson been a bit off last season. We don't know how he's going to gel with Murray. I'm going to take the W there.
Well, week 6, you are taking a road trip to New York, and you take on the Giants.
Oh, we got a great record in MetLife. I'm having a win there as well. This is a run for us that I think we could really get some wins on the board this stretch.
Well, week 7 is quite a run. It's the run all the way to Paris as you host. Well, I say host. Yeah, you are the home team for a game against the Steelers at the Stade de France. A game that I cannot wait to be in attendance for.
I'm gonna give us the win, and this is why, because when I was in New Orleans in March, I sat down and had coffee with a couple of people who work for the organisation, and they were so focused on making that stadium feel as much like a home stadium as they can. Now, I know the Irish contingent are going to come over for the Steelers and try and make that difficult for us, but I just think, I've just got a feeling we're so invested in France, and I think they're going to put it all on the table to get a win there. So, everything they're doing, the run up to the game, I think they're really going to get some momentum going. So I'm going to give us the win. And I don't know what Rodgers is going to look like in his final year. I
mean, the thing is, like, the Steelers, yes, have got the Irish thing with the family, but New Orleans as a city is actually, I can only think of that, and Boston have got connections to like a country like that. So I think you think about any international game that's gone by, and you think about the actual city and the history of a city, like, there's no history in the city of Jacksonville with London. There's no history of anything like that. It's the first international game I can think of where the team playing at home is playing in a city where their actual city has got connections to.
It's the roots of New Orleans is France, so it's they're going to go all in. I know they're going all in on it. They are very focused on making that a positive experience for the French fans and getting that win. So, yeah.
And are you going to be in attendance for that game?
I am. I got my tickets. I'm taking my family over. We are trying to work with some other podcasts to do an event on the Saturday night in a bar couple of a French Saints podcast and another UK American podcast, Dome Patrol podcast, and French Quarter podcast, and then our friends in the US, the Saintsaholics podcast. So we're going to try and do this event. So obviously, if anyone's in Paris who's listening, even if you're not a Saints fan, once it's out there, come down. It'll be a great night.
Well, I'm staying with a Steelers fan in our hotel.
Maybe not that one.
Shout out to Freddie if you are listening. He's going to be coming on later on in this season previews. He is on for what we think is going to be Team 29 out of 32 when the Steelers are our season preview. Him and our other Freddie Harper Davis, will be joining in a few episodes' time, so stay tuned for that. So maybe I'll try and convince him to rock up and upset the apple cart and get all the Saints fans loud and screaming and get the night going. So week 8 is a bye week. So week 9 is against a team that many thought would be the team playing against you in Paris. You've got a home game against the Browns.
I can't see past a win here. They've lost Myles Garrett. The QB situation there is all over the place. I just can't see. They've got a good defense, but will it stack up without Myles Garrett? I don't know. I like Jared Verse. I liked him coming out. Is he going to have the same impact in that defense as he had with the Rams? I don't know. That remains to be seen. I might be eating my words come that week, but I think the Browns are just so Browns. That's the only way I can describe them. Every time you think they've turned a corner, they set themselves back 5 years. So I'm gonna have to win there, and our luck's gonna turn now. Let's go to the next stretch.
Yeah, I mean that is quite a 3-game stretch, I must say. But week 10, you've mentioned this team previously. You've got a home game against the Panthers.
I'm gonna go win here, and I done wrong way around. The loss at the Bank of America Stadium, but so win here against the Panthers. We tend to play well against them at home. We tend to lose at their place, so I'm going to stick with form and say we get the win there.
Well, then week 11, you take a trip to Soldier Field and you take on the Chicago Bears.
I'm going to give them that one. I think they've built a very nice wide receiving unit there. I think if Caleb Williams carries on the way he did last season, then I think they're a team to watch out for. And also Dennis Allen still being there, bit of a grudge match there. He tries to bring it all against us with his defense, so I'll let them have that one there. They beat us there last season as well. So,
well, then week 12, you are facing a road game in Ohio against the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'll give that one to the Bengals. I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. Jamar Chase. I'm gonna let them have that one. I think they'll sneak that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows what Burrow did for last City. I mean, I remember being in New Orleans for the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and he was doing like a live appearance on, I forget what the show was. It had Stephen A. Smith on it, and he came on, and the noise I heard erupt when he came on the stage was quite something. And you think about that LSU team.
Some people go to Saints Bengals games in LSU Burrow jerseys in the Superdome. They have.
Yeah, I saw when I went there. I saw that exact jersey on display. I've been to Saints games as well outside of the Superdome, and I've also seen LSU jerseys as well. So big hero in what might be the best ever college team. Some might say.
It's them or Miami, isn't it? So
So week 13, you are back at the Superdome for the first time since week 10, but this time you are facing the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to give that to the Packers. I think Micah Parsons, if he comes back healthy, I think Jordan Love's a good quarterback. I think that, again, they've got a underrated wide receiver room there. I think they've got a lot of talent in there, and I think if they deliver on the potential they've got, I think they're a strong team. So I'm going to give them that one in the Dome.
Yeah, I think if they can win games in Parsons' absence, then I do think that gives them a chance to do something. But I do think if they struggle for the first 6 weeks when he's out and they start with just 2-4 or something like that, I would significantly worry for the Packers there. Week 14, you're back against the Panthers, but this time you're on the road.
I'll give them that one. As I said, we don't tend to do well at Bank of America Stadium, so I think we normally split the games each year, one apiece. So I think going with history, I'll give them that one.
And then week 15, you are on the road again, but this time you are against another division rival in the Buccaneers.
I'm going to give the Bucks that one as well. Again, a place where we sort of do all right there from time to time. There was that game a few years ago where we held Tom Brady to 3 points and he threw his iPad down or his Surface tablet down on the ground and stuff like that. I just think that's a tough place to go. If Baker's playing well, I'm going to give him that one again. Like split the fixture.
So then, week 16, your final non-division opponent of the season, you are hosting the Arizona Cardinals.
I'm going to that game, so it's 100% win.
Amazing!
Yeah, gonna win it. I think the Cardinals are the worst team in the league this year. I think they're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a team that they got McBride. They've got if he can turn up and unleash his potential, you got Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson's an underrated receiver. But even with that, their schedules as follow. They've got Chargers, Seahawks, Niners, Giants, Lions, Rams, Broncos, Cowboys, Seahawks, Rams, Chiefs, Commanders, Eagles, Jets, Saints, Raiders, Niners. That is a tough, even if you've got a super team, that's still an incredibly hard schedule. That is, I don't see him. We're going to do, our season predictions. I don't think there's anything that's going to change my mind to suggest they aren't going to have the number one overall pick in next year's draft. I think that is...
Yeah, and it's a decent draft class for QBs potentially. If Arch Manning improves, you've got a couple of other players who didn't declare this year, who are probably likely to declare next year. If they're on a slump, they might just go embrace it and look to get a QB with the first pick next year and then see where they go with that.
Yeah, the march for Arch continues, and I think I read somewhere that there's no indication that he's going to do what his uncle did, Eli, and I can't think whether he's uncle. Yeah,
it's uncle. Yeah,
yeah. So it's that's right, because it's the third brother, isn't it? It's Cooper Manning. Yeah, it's dad. So I think there's people obviously have drawn the comparisons to could he do what Eli did? There's no indication that's what's going to happen.
I don't think you get away with it now. I think you'd really struggle to. If the family did it again, I think that the NFL would just be in uproar. But I just can't see you getting away with it now. There's too much money in the game.
I mean, can you imagine like TikTok reactions, social when that happens? I will say, as long as my team isn't affected, I would love to see it happen again, just for the drama, especially if it's on draft night or something. You think about the drama that I was obviously way too young, didn't watch NFL at that point in 2004 when Eli Manning did what he did, or even obviously going further back, John Elway. I think that'll be great drama. I will say. Yeah. I'm just picturing.
We came close to it with the guy at the Bengals, didn't we? Who wouldn't sign his contract?
Oh, Shamar Stewart.
And he said, and he suggested he might go back into the draft, and they went, "No, you're not. We're not going to let you do that." And they sorted the contract out. But that's the closest we've come in recent years, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would love to see it again. Maybe next year, you never know. Week 17 is your final road game of the regular season, and you have a trip to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and your favourite team, the Atlanta Falcons. Win.
That stadium's always empty by the time we get there for the end of the season because, they're not a great fan base. I don't think. They fill that stadium more with the soccer team than they do with the Falcons sometimes. So I'm going for the win there. We're going to sweep the Falcons next year. The QB room, they got 2 QBs. You might as well have no QBs. Got to do some trash talking, Andy. I've got to give them some trash talking.
Oh yeah, I'm the same with the Jets, absolutely. And I would agree. I mean, I did a post, a TikTok video where I talked about the ranking, kind of the atmosphere, all 30 stadiums I'd experienced, and that was by far the worst, by a mile. And obviously there was Chargers fans as well, which didn't help. It was Falcons and Chargers in one stadium. But I just thought, it was, to look at, it's one of the best. It's an incredible venue. They're really easy to get to. Aesthetically, it's incredible. There's cheap food in the stands. I got, three pizza slices, a popcorn and a water for $7. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, even if they were cold, the pizzas. But the stadium atmosphere was just non-existent. I mean,
the stadium can create an atmosphere because we saw it at the World Cup. And we've seen it in other sports that have played there. So the stadium, is designed to create an atmosphere. It's just their fan base. I just don't think it's a football town as much as they like to think it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that because the Hawks aren't like a massive franchise. Don't think they've won an NBA championship.
Probably more Braves. Braves are probably the biggest sporting franchise they've got out there, I'd say.
Yeah. I was trying to think of other sports teams. Atlanta United gets quite a big following. That looks like
they fill that stadium up by MLS standards.
Final week is week 18, your home game against the Buccaneers. Daniel, for the final time this episode, win, lose or tie?
Win to make the playoffs.
That is 10-7 according to your prediction. So with that record, how far are you predicting your team will go in the postseason?
I mean, anyone can catch fire in the postseason. If we can win a division, avoid, that record isn't going to get you a bye, right? But if you can get in a strong enough position to get a home game in the Dome, play a football back in the Dome, it will be electric. It's one of the hardest places to go when the fans are... Well, it's hard to go anyway, but that noise now, I was there for the NFC Championship game against the Rams. I've never heard noise like it. And I think if the Saints can get to a playoff and get a home fixture, I think they could definitely make it through to the next round. Maybe not the NFC Championship, but definitely get to the divisional round out of the wild card. The key is being in the Dome.
Wow. I mean, I do apologize if I've already asked you about this. You were there for the missed call, the Carl Roby call.
It was right in front of me. I mean, I was up in the 600s, but it was literally, I was looking down it there, and it was clear as day. The whole stadium knew it was pass interference. It was a travesty.
I mean,
and to make it worse, they missed a face mask on Drew Brees in overtime, which would have given us 10 yards and got us in field goal range. It's terrible. Yeah. The atmosphere, Andy, was nothing. I've never experienced anything like it at a sporting event. It was deafening. I was in the bathroom in the restroom when Demario Davis got the interception, and the tiles were rattling on the ceiling from how loud it was. It was, if anyone wants to go to a road game, if you can get to the Superdome for a big Saints game when they're loud, you'll never hear anything like it.
I mean,
because it's inside as well, it keeps all the noise in.
Yeah, it's an incredible stadium. It is insane. And we've had friend of the show, David Caproche, on a lot. Bill's season ticket holder from Buffalo. He's talked about his time with being there for the 13-second game, Bills Chiefs. But I think you're one of a few guests that have been at a game for such an iconic moment in NFL history. I mean, in my time watching, in my what's that going to be? 15 years watching the sport and 10 years watching it like properly. I don't think I've seen a worse call than that ever. I don't think I've seen a worse call than that. You can see. I came out saying my text messages from people who don't even watch the NFL going, "Oh my god, that was horrific." And I was just like, "You don't even understand the sport, and you knew it was wrong." So, yeah, I mean, you could see it on the TV when it happened at the time. You could see it on the replay. It seems like everyone saw what happened, apart from the officials.
Apart from Bill Vinovich.
Yeah. And what was that like in terms of kind of the walk from you leave your seat back to where you were staying? Was that maybe the most depressing journey home of your life?
Do you know what? It was cold. It wasn't cold. It was quiet and somber. Aside from, there was a lot of reflection going on, as well as people from New Orleans will tell you what they think, and there was vocal people. One of the worst things for me was someone leant over and said to me, I'm so sorry, you've just missed the best party of your life, because if that hadn't have happened and we'd won, this city, you'd never experienced anything like it. And that almost to me was even more gutting, that it's so hard to get to a championship game at home. And then, a city like New Orleans, the party they would have had, I think I probably would have had a struggle to make my flight. It was a somber evening. I think we went back to the bar, had a couple of drinks, and just went to bed, because it was just like, it was just, wasn't what you wanted.
I mean,
I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the city that day, so that weekend.
Fair. I mean, I thought our loss to the Titans in 2023 was bad enough. That to me is that's the one good thing about not supporting a team that isn't very good. You don't get much heartbreak. So
Yeah.
there's not many what ifs. I don't think being a fan of a team where you know you're going to be bad most years.
Well, the next year we had the push off against the Vikings. Adam, was it Phelan? There was a push off, and we had hotels booked like at different places, and they said, "Oh, they're going to review it." It's like, "Oh, you got a chance?" And they went, "No," and I was like, "Oh." So,
That yes, I remember that. Kirk Cousins to think, yeah, I remember that. I remember watching that. Yeah, that was that game.
And we had the people in Minneapolis, the either side of the.
Oh,
so we had a 3-season run of pretty poor exits from the playoffs.
Well, maybe that's payback for Bountygate. Well, that is where we will end the show for today. So, Daniel, first of all, a massive thank you for coming on today.
No, it's been great. I've really enjoyed having a chat and talking about the team. I'm excited for I'm sure, as I said, we're all excited for the season to start. Last night, the Hall of Fame game. Looking forward to watching Drew get inducted this evening or tomorrow. I lose track of the time. But yeah, I'm excited for the season, and I'm looking forward to see what Kellen can do in his second year.
Yeah, that should be quite an exciting year for you and quite an exciting division. Maybe not for the right reasons. But that is the end of our show, the end of our New Orleans Saints season preview. Team 23, not 24 out of 32. This has been, as ever, your host today in myself, Andy Davis, and our Saints fan in Daniel from the Saints City Me podcast. And we will put this link to his podcast in the description. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.